Let me tell you something nobody warns you about. The moment a man hurts you, he's already expecting your reaction. He's waiting for the tears, the late night texts, the questions, the emotional storm. He thinks he understands you. He thinks he knows exactly how you'll respond. But what if you didn't? What if instead of breaking down, you leveled up? What if instead of chasing him, you stepped back in silence? What if instead of giving him closure, you became the mystery he couldn't figure out? See, pain has a way of revealing power if you use it right. Because the truth is, the strongest move you can make after being hurt is not revenge, it's transformation. And when you respond in a way he never expected, you don't just heal, you shift the entire dynamic. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that and how to turn your pain into power that leaves him completely confused. Don't react emotionally. Respond strategically. Let me slow this down for you, because this right here is where most people lose their power. When a man hurts you, the pain hits instantly. It's emotional, it's raw, it feels personal. And in that moment, your heart wants to take over. Your mind starts racing, your chest feels tight, and all you want to do is respond right now. You want to say something, prove something, fix something, or release what you're feeling. But listen to me carefully. That moment right there is a test, not of your love, not of your worth, but of your self-control. Because reacting emotionally is exactly what he expects. He expects the long messages. He expects the repeated calls. He expects you to explain how much he hurt you. He expects the tears, the frustration, the anger. Why? Because emotional reactions give him information. They show him he still has access to your feelings. They confirm that no matter what he does, you're still emotionally invested in him. And once someone knows they can trigger you like that, they feel powerful. Now here's where everything shifts. When you don't react immediately, when you pause instead of exploding, when you choose silence instead of emotional expression, something changes. Not just in him, but in you. Because now you're no longer operating from pain. You're operating from awareness. See, strategy requires space. You cannot think clearly when you're overwhelmed with emotion. Your decisions become impulsive. You say things you don't mean. You reveal more than you should. You give energy to someone who hasn't earned it. And later, when the emotion fades, you look back and wish you handled it differently. That's why powerful people don't rush their responses. They step back, they observe, they process, and then they decide. There's a difference between reacting and responding, and most people never learn it. Reacting is instant. It's driven by feelings. It's uncontrolled. Respond is intentional. It's calm. It's measured. It's chosen. And when you respond instead of react, you take your power back. Imagine this for a second. He does something that hurts you. Maybe he ignores you, disrespects you, or disappoints you. Instead of sending that emotional message right away, you put the phone down. You breathe. You sit with your feelings without acting on them. You allow yourself to feel the hurt, but you don't let it dictate your behavior. Hours pass, maybe even a day. Now when you finally respond, it's not from a place of pain, it's from a place of clarity. Your words are fewer, stronger, and more controlled. You're not trying to convince him of anything. You're not trying to get a reaction. You're simply expressing your standard. That kind of energy is rare. And it's confusing to someone who expected chaos, because now he doesn't know where he stands. He doesn't know if you're angry, if you're done, or if you've already started moving on. Your calmness creates uncertainty, and uncertainty makes people think. But this isn't just about confusing him. This is about protecting you. Every time you react emotionally, you give away a piece of your control. You let someone else dictate how you feel and how you behave. But when you respond strategically, you take that control back. You decide when to speak, what to say, and how much of yourself to reveal. That's power. And let's be real for a moment. Staying calm when you're hurt is not easy. It takes discipline. It takes maturity. It takes strength to sit with emotions instead of acting on them. But that's what separates people who keep getting hurt from people who grow through it. You don't have to suppress your feelings. You don't have to pretend you're not hurt. Feel everything you need to feel. Cry if you have to. Talk to someone you trust. Write it out. Process it, but don't hand those emotions directly to the person who caused them. That's the difference. Because when you give someone immediate emotional access to you after they've hurt you, you're teaching them that they can disrupt your peace and still get your attention. And once that pattern is set, it repeats. But when you step back, when you create distance between the action and your response, you break that pattern. Now your energy is not easy to access. Now your reactions are not predictable. Now your presence is not something they can take for granted. And that's when the dynamic shifts, because people respect what they can't control. And when your emotions are no longer something they can trigger on command, they start to see you differently, stronger, more grounded, more in control. And the truth is, you're not doing this to play games. You're doing this to protect your peace. You're doing this to grow into someone who doesn't lose themselves every time someone else makes a mistake. So the next time you feel that urge to react instantly, pause, take a breath. Remind yourself that you don't have to respond right away. Give yourself the time to move from emotion to clarity, because in that space between what happened and how you respond, that's where your real power lies. Remove your presence, not your value. Now let's talk about something that sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things to do when your heart is involved. When a man hurts you, your instinct is to hold on tighter. You feel like if you stay present, if you keep showing up, if you keep giving your time and energy, maybe things will change. Maybe he'll realize your worth. Maybe he'll come back around and treat you better. But let me tell you something clearly: presence is powerful. And when you give it freely to someone who doesn't respect you, you reduce its value. See, people often don't recognize what they have when it's always available. When you're always there, always responding, always forgiving, always understanding, you become predictable. And when something becomes predictable, it becomes easy to take for granted. That's not because you're not valuable. It's because your value is constantly accessible. There's a difference. Removing your presence is not about punishing him. It's not about playing games or trying to manipulate his feelings. It's about creating space where your absence can speak for you. It's about stepping back so that what you brought into his life becomes noticeable by its absence. Because here's the truth: people don't always appreciate what you say, but they always notice what you stop doing. They notice when the good morning texts stop. They notice when the check has disappeared. They notice when the emotional support is no longer there. They notice when your energy is no longer pouring into them. And that's when confusion starts to build, because now he's trying to understand what changed. He's trying to figure out why the same person who was always there is suddenly unavailable. And in that moment, your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. But let's be clear about something: removing your presence does not mean lowering your standards or questioning your worth. In fact, it's the opposite. You are not stepping back because you are not enough. You are stepping back because you finally realize you are too much to be handled carelessly. There's power in walking away quietly. No long explanations. No dramatic exits. No need to prove a point, just a shift in your energy. You stop over-giving. You stop over-explaining. You stop making yourself available to someone who made you feel optional. And you do it with dignity. That's what makes it confusing, because he expected a reaction. He expected you to fight for his attention. He expected you to chase. But instead, you chose yourself. And when you choose yourself, you send a message without saying a word. You show that your time is valuable. Your energy is valuable. Your presence is valuable. And not everyone gets unlimited access to it. Now let's talk about something deeper. A lot of people struggle with this because they confuse presence with love. They think being there constantly proves how much they care. They believe that if they just stay long enough, give enough, sacrifice enough, The other person will eventually see their value, but love should not require you to abandon yourself, and presence should not come at the cost of your peace. If someone hurts you and your response is to stay exactly the same, to keep giving them the same access, the same energy, the same attention, then nothing changes. You teach them that they can hurt you and still have you. But when you remove your presence, you change the pattern. Now your energy is no longer something they can rely on without effort. Now your time is no longer guaranteed. Now your attention has to be earned, and that shift creates awareness, because people often realize the value of something when it's no longer within reach. It's human nature. And suddenly he starts to reflect. He starts to think about the things you used to do, the way you showed up, the way you cared, the way you supported him. And he begins to understand what he lost access to. But here's the most important part. You are not doing this just so he can realize your worth. You are doing this so you can remember it. Because sometimes in trying to be everything for someone else, you forget yourself. You forget your standards. You forget your boundaries. You forget what you deserve. Removing your presence gives you space to reconnect with yourself. It allows you to pour that same energy back into your own life, your growth, your peace, your happiness. And once you start doing that, something shifts inside you. You no longer feel the need to chase. You no longer feel the need to prove anything. You become more grounded, more confident, more in control. And that's what truly confuses him. Because now, even if he comes back, he's not dealing with the same version of you. He's dealing with someone who understands her value and is no longer willing to be treated like an option. So when you remove your presence, don't do it halfway. Don't check in secretly. Don't stay emotionally available while pretending to step back. Do it fully. Do it with intention. Do it with self-respect, because your presence is not something to be given endlessly. It's something to be appreciated. And when you learn to withdraw it from the wrong places, you make room for it to be valued in the right ones. Glow up in silence. Now this right here is where the real shift begins, because when a man hurts you, most people expect you to fall apart, to slow down, to lose focus, and to carry that pain into every area of your life. They expect your confidence to drop and your energy to change. But the move that confuses him the most is when you don't collapse under that pain, you convert it into growth. A real glow up is not just about appearance. It is about transformation from the inside out. It is about how you think, how you carry yourself, and how you rebuild after something tried to break you. Instead of focusing on what he did, you start focusing on what you can do next. You redirect your energy away from the situation and into your own development. You become more disciplined, more focused, and more intentional with your time. You start improving your habits, your mindset, your goals, and your overall direction in life. And the most powerful part is that you do it quietly. You are not announcing every step. You are not looking for validation. And you are not trying to prove anything. You are simply becoming better. That silent growth builds a different kind of confidence because it is not dependent on anyone else's opinion. It comes from your own consistency and effort. Over time, the results begin to show. Your energy changes, your presence feels different, and your mindset becomes stronger. When he eventually sees you again, he notices the shift immediately. You are no longer the same person he once knew. You are calmer, more grounded, and no longer seeking his attention. That creates confusion because he expected you to stay the same, but instead you evolved. And the truth is, you are not doing this for him, you are doing it for yourself. You are building a version of yourself that no longer depends on external validation and no longer tolerates what once hurt you. That kind of growth is undeniable and cannot be ignored. Stop explaining yourself. When a man hurts you, the first instinct is to explain your feelings and try to make him understand your perspective. But this is where many people lose their power. You start repeating yourself, trying different ways to express the same point, hoping that eventually he will understand and change. But if someone truly values you, They do not need constant explanations to treat you with respect. When you keep explaining yourself to someone who continues to hurt you, you are not gaining understanding, you are exhausting yourself. You are putting energy into being heard by someone who has already shown you how they respond. Real strength comes when you recognize that your worth does not need to be explained. You stop trying to convince someone to see your value, and instead you start acting in alignment with it. This means speaking less and observing more. It means allowing actions to speak louder than words. When you stop over-explaining, you remove the emotional access someone has to you. They no longer get detailed insight into how you feel or where you stand. This creates a sense of uncertainty because they expected you to react, to argue, and to keep trying, but instead you become calm and controlled. Your silence becomes intentional rather than emotional. You are not ignoring the situation. You are choosing not to invest energy where it is not respected. This shift protects your peace and reinforces your standards. You begin to realize that people's actions already provide the clarity you were searching for. And once you accept that, you no longer feel the need to explain yourself repeatedly. You simply adjust your behavior and move forward in a way that reflects your self-respect. Set boundaries and mean them. Setting boundaries is something many people talk about, but the real power lies in actually enforcing them. When a man hurts you, your boundary is not defined by what you say in the moment, it is defined by what you do afterward. If the same behavior continues and you continue to accept it, then your boundary loses its meaning. People learn how to treat you based on what you allow, not just what you say. When you begin to set real boundaries and follow through with them, the dynamic immediately changes. Your energy is no longer easily accessible, and your standards become clear through your actions. This creates confusion because he expected the same pattern, the same forgiveness, and the same access to you regardless of his behavior. But now, there are consequences. You are no longer tolerating disrespect or making excuses for it. This requires strength because it often means being willing to walk away from situations that do not align with your standards. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but over time it builds confidence and self-respect. You begin to trust yourself more because you are honoring your own limits. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about controlling your own responses and protecting your peace. When you consistently enforce them, you show that your standards are not temporary. They are a permanent part of who you are. And that consistency changes how people see you and how they interact with you. Move on without closure. Moving on without closure is one of the most difficult things to do because the mind naturally seeks answers. When a man hurts you, you want to understand why it happened and what it meant. You may feel that one more conversation or one more explanation will help you move forward. But the reality is that closure is not something that someone else can give you. It is something you create for yourself. Waiting for answers keeps you emotionally connected to the situation and prevents you from fully letting go. When you decide to move on without closure, you are choosing peace over explanation. You accept that you may never fully understand the situation, and you stop allowing that uncertainty to control your emotions. This decision shifts your focus from the past to the future. You begin to invest your energy into your own growth and well-being instead of replaying events in your mind. Over time, the need for answers fades because you realize that the person's actions already gave you the clarity you needed. Their behavior showed you everything about their priorities and their level of respect. Accepting this allows you to detach in a healthy way. You are not holding on to anger or resentment. You are simply choosing to move forward. This creates confusion because he expected you to remain emotionally engaged, to keep asking questions, and to stay connected to the situation. But instead, you step away without needing anything from him. That quiet decision to move on shifts the power back to you and allows you to focus fully on your own life and future. Closeness is where you take your power back. So here's the truth you need to carry with you. When a man hurts you, your power is not in reacting, chasing or proving your worth. Your power is in how you choose yourself every single time. It's in your silence, your growth, your boundaries, and your ability to walk away without needing answers. You don't confuse him by playing games. You confuse him by becoming someone he can no longer figure out or access. And in that process, something even greater happens. You don't just move on from him. You rise into a version of yourself that never settles again.